Morning, Monty. How you doing, man?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So, I feel like you've been out in India in the Legends League recently. Is that right?
Yeah, I was there playing and obviously captaining the side.
Yeah. How was that?
Really good experience, captaining the team. We were Chandigarh champs. We won 5 out of 5, and then we obviously lost the semi-final. But we had good players in our side. We had Tilkaratne Dushan, the Sri Lankan one-day sort of legend.
Yeah, yeah.
Irfan Pathan in our team as well. So yeah, we had a good side.
Good stuff. So, looking ahead to obviously the Ashes is kind of getting a bit closer now, 2.5 months before the first test kicks off. As someone who's played in, their fair share of Ashes tests and 50 test matches in general for England, do you feel like this kind of era of English cricket that we're in right now? Obviously, we're world champions at the 50 over game, T20 champions, whitewash Pakistan away. Do you feel like it's a golden era that English fans are witnessing at the moment?
Absolutely. I think we're being very spoiled, let's be honest.
Mm.
We are the double world champions. No other team has ever achieved that. And we are the team that's leading white ball cricket in T20 and ODI. The way we're sort of now doing test cricket as well. So I would say in all three formats, we are the leaders, in world cricket. And you kind of like, I remember even James Anderson saying that it's funny how it's taken so long to play cricket like this at Test Arena, but it's very much to the brave decisions that England like Ben Stokes, Brendan McCullum have made, and in particular was the Pakistan first Test match. That was an interesting decision to enforce a game where most captains probably would have drawn first test of a series and then try and get a win in the second or the third to win the series. But they were like, no, we're going to win. We're going to risk losing to win. So not many captains in the before would have done that. And I don't think there's many captains in world cricket who would do that. So I think England 100% at the moment are leading in Test cricket, T20 and ODI.
Yeah, it's great to see. I think you're right. The fearlessness of the captaincy and approach of the players kind of it's filtered down, hasn't it, throughout the team and it's benefiting all round. Obviously, Glenn McGrath, one of England's kind of villains over the years, someone who dismissed. I particularly remember Mike Atherton countless times. He seems to predict every time the Ashes comes around that Australia are going to win 5-0. Last time he was nearly correct. I think it was 4-0, wasn't it? We got the draw in the final test. This year, he's got to be having a laugh, hasn't he? 5-0.
Well, the thing is, I think Glenn McGrath's always going to say that because that's everyone. Glenn McGrath was a superior bowler, and the way he sort of played Test cricket, yeah, he definitely eyed 5-0, winning every game. But I think now the tables have turned. That's how Australia used to be like, but England are like that. So maybe he's saying England 5-0. So maybe I think he's probably saying England 5-0.
He's
I think
got
he's
it
got,
the wrong
maybe
way
that's what he
around.
said. Yeah, I think we misunderstood him there. I think Glenn McGrath was saying England 5-0.
Okay, yeah, I hope so, man. It was obviously looking at the bookies, the way they're predicting the series is going to go. They're not predicting any draws really. They reckon it's going to be 3-2 to England, so a tight series. But I think with the way that England play so aggressively and Australia do, and not many pitches are seemingly kind of built for draws these days. What do you see the outcome being score wise?
Yeah, look, I think every test match is probably be the way England are playing, they're going to enforce a result. And it's got that very much 2005 feel to it. Like, I think if this time around England win the Ashes, they'll win it in a way which will be exciting. People would want to watch cricket. I've got friends coming over from Australia paying £1,000 a ticket,
Really?
corporate tickets, or more than that. And they're flying out and they want to watch the Ashes in England because they just think it's going to be one of the biggest sporting events this year and between England and obviously Australia. So I just feel that it's got that vibe about it. And if England, win the Ashes this time around, I think it's going to be like an open top celebration as well, where they'll go at Trafalgar Square and there'll be millions of people. It's just got that feel and vibe to it this year.
Yeah, I think it's obviously now there's going to be COVID's a distant memory, isn't it? There's going to be full stadiums, hopefully fireworks from the first ball. It could be a classic, definitely. Ollie Robinson claims England can really stick one on Australia and win the series comfortably. Do you think there's a danger of complacency or overconfidence amongst England?
Well, I think England they thrive when they feel very confident, and I think if the fast bowlers of Australians, aren't as threatening as we have seen them in the past, because they haven't been exposed to this style of cricket that England are playing at the moment. It could, yeah, Ollie Robinson could be right. It could be very much, England winning most of the games and they win the series. But I think Australia are quite smart as well. They'll work out ways where they'll think, right, how do we, stop this style of cricket? Do we maybe bowl a bit slower instead of bowling quick like we do in Australian conditions where, the pitches are bouncier. You have to bowl 140 kilometers to get some wickets. But here, it's more about seam movement, swing in the air. And bowlers like Ollie Robinson are probably more threatening than possibly like Pat Cummins or Mitchell Stark. So they may even just say, look, guys, the Australian seamers may just think we may need to just slow down in pace to get more movement because they're not fearing our pace. So that'll be interesting to see and be fascinating to see how the strategy of it all develops. But England are in the front seat. I think Australia have not been exposed to this style of cricket. They've been absolutely completely been dominated in India with the spin bowling. So you kind of sense that their batters with any sort of swing or seam movement, I think England will just, probably got a good chance of like putting the top order under pressure.
Yeah, blowing them away early doors. Hopefully, you mentioned there the pace and the variation England have in terms of their attack. England's fastest bowler, Mark Woods, took 5 for 14 at the in the IPL at the weekend. He can be devastating on his day. How important do you think he can be against Australia's top order?
Yeah, he's unbelievable. He's like the X factor in the England side. It's like every time you have a guy who can bowl 150 kilometers, you just feel like that you got to go after the other bowlers because you've got Mark Wood coming up. So it was really good to see how he got Mitchell Marsh out first ball. He completely done him from pace. And Mitchell Marsh is a good striker of a cricket ball, but the pace was too much for him. And also, David Warner, he's getting a feel of Mark Wood during the IPL, and he knows this guy is going to be a handful. So I just think England have got so much strength in their bowling and batting department. They just look like much stronger team at the moment compared to Australia, and England 100%. With the X factor team that they have, and Jofra Archer, he may be hopefully be back as well playing. That just extra pace. I just feel like England are just really strong at the moment.
Do you feel in terms of England's spin attack, do you think that's going to be important? Obviously, yourself as a former left armer, someone who took wickets in Ashes test matches. We've got an 18-year-old spinner by the name of Rehan Ahmed. How much of him have you seen, and how good do you think his future can be in the game?
Yeah, he's unbelievable. I think if the wicket does turn, they'll probably may look to play him as a second spinner. And he seems like a bright prospect. And he can bat, bowl. He can play the T20 format. I think he's playing a few T10 leagues and also in the ODI as well with the World Cup coming up. So he's got a very exciting future ahead of him. And it's really good to see the depth that England have. Normally you wouldn't have that. Normally in the past, 18, 19-year-old coming through the ranks, you say, let's give him a couple of years, let's see what he's like. Now it's just this new, under the new management of Rob Key and Brendan McCullum, they're like, if there's a youngster where they feel like, well, we've seen enough of him, let's get him in the team because we feel like he's ready. And I think that's the difference now than it was probably 10, 15 years ago. They're just making much more braver calls, and they just, pushing the development of young cricket coming through. So Rehan Ahmed is a very, very exciting talent.
Yeah, I think you're right. Throwing caution to the wind now. If you're good enough, you're young enough type thing. Good enough, you're old enough. Yeah, so it's good to see, because it did often seem that England were very cautious in blooding youngsters back in the day, didn't it? But now maybe not so much. In terms of the wicket keeping position, Johnny Bairstow has been injured for a while, but he's making the right kind of noises that he'll be fit in time for the first Ashes Test. Is he the man you'd want to see behind the stumps with the gloves on?
Well, I think if Johnny Bairstow does get back in form and scores a few domestic runs, then look, I think they'll probably bring Johnny Bairstow back. He just offers a lot more with a bat, and even with his presence in the team, I think the Australians will probably prefer to have Ben Foakes as the keeper. But I think Johnny Bairstow just offers a bit more, and he's a bit more of a threat to the Australian side. He'll take on their fast bowlers. He'll give it back to them, like we've seen, against South Africa last summer, how he did it. So I reckon, Johnny Bairstow will probably be the first choice wicketkeeper.
In terms of kind of injury concerns, hopefully, obviously there won't be that many, but Jofra Archer, he won't have played any red ball cricket by the time the first test comes around. Is there a danger that he could be undercooked, or will he maybe not even be selected for that first test?
Yeah, look, there's every chance, that they may think that it depends on how he does in the IPL. He's obviously been taken down by Virat Kohli in the last game. I think of his 17 deliveries, he took him down for 28 runs. So that's the highest it's been in an IPL. So I think someone like Jofra Archer, he's probably needs to be honest with himself a little bit, work out how his body is. But how good would that be? Him being fit, Mark Wood being fit, with Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad, there's just so much to choose from. And they've obviously, the Australians know how lethal he is, at Lords, when he bowled that vicious bouncer to Steve Smith. It was quick, fast, ferocious. So, yeah, look, I think England want him to be fully fit. And if he's ready to play Test cricket and his body can take it, yeah, he's definitely in the squad for 100%.
Yeah, he's a great option to have there. And just even if he's not starting, you can bring him in for the second test, see how it goes. Also, Ben Stokes had a cortisone injection in his left knee before he flew out to the IPL. Is there a danger of the workload taking its toll on his body in the lead up to the Ashes? Should we be concerned?
Well, I think, he's at the moment, he's like the modern day Mike Brearley, if you ask my opinion, where I think his batting and bowling is a bonus, but his captaincy has really gone, the development of his captaincy has gone through the roof. He's unbelievable. This is like the modern day captain, how he's taken it to the next level. So I think his batting is going to be much more obviously crucial, but the bowling department is covered. So if he's not fit to bowl, I don't think he should bowl. But yeah, his batting 100% comes into play because it's the past memories of an Ashes series. It always plays a part with the Australians. I always think that, well, if Johnny Bairstow or even Ben Stokes get going here, we know what they can do. They can win a game single-handedly in a session. So I think his batting is far more important, but his captaincy, that is a real asset. And I think he will be very attacking, creative, having like 4 slips, no mid-on, and possibly, bring silly mid-off up and encouraging the Australians playing, with their egos and the bravados that they have. So that would be an interesting contest. And it'll be a lot of fun. I cannot wait to see how Ben Stokes captains during the Ashes because I really, really enjoyed his captaincy over the summer last year.
Yeah, but it's definitely been a breath of fresh air, his style. Do you feel like when he was playing under Joe Root, he's taken some of the aspects of Joe Root's captaincy and sort of put his own twist on them? And Joe Root was kind of occasionally criticised for being too defensive in his field placings and things like that. Do you think Stokes has just put his own twist on things and it's going well so far?
Yeah, look, I think Ben Stokes has done really, really well. Like no one expected him to be a captain of this kind, but he's kind of put his own style to the captaincy, added things as he goes along. And it's great to see because that's what you want. You want him to keep developing. It's like a car, really, isn't it? It's like you have an air con, and afterwards you add some airbags to it. Then you have different sort of gadgets to it. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's like being so inventive in the way he's being ultra positive. He's then tells Jack Leach to keep sticking to this really aggressive field, and he keeps bowling to it, and then you see him get a wicket. And the same with the batting. There'll be times where they're like 50 for 5, and they're guys, this is time for Bazball. Go there and just take on the bowlers. That's what you're here to do. And I think a lot of people's now selection from the domestic cricket in county championship is going to be based upon not about the runs or wickets you take. It's like how you get them, how you take your wickets, how aggressive you are, how positive you are, because that's the style they're playing. So you've got to adapt to that style. And I just think that Ben Stokes has taken it to sort of another level with other people. No one really expected that's how cricket will be played. Mm-hmm. And that's why I say England are the leading runners when it comes to taking the game to the next level, all formats, and Ben Stokes is leading the way for it.
Yeah, just setting the trends and setting the pace, and it's up to the other countries to follow in our footsteps, really, and see if they can. But like you said, Brendan McCullum obviously came in last year. How much influence do you think he's had apart from just the kind of aggressive nature of the play? There must be details and things that he's tweaked and worked on. What do you see that he's brought to the camp?
Well, look, I think what he's brought is a lot of fun, let people relax, be themselves. he's always also encourages them to go out and attack, play positive cricket. There's no consequences. If first ball you dance down the wicket, top edge it, and you're out, it's like, it's okay. I want you to play positive cricket. In the past, it was a little bit like, there's a consequence. If the ball's seaming a little bit and you edge it, you're not helping the team. Or if as a bowler, you're trying to like bowl a bit too straight and the wicket's really flat for an LBW and it gets clipped for 4, you're like, no, that's not disciplined bowling. Now it's like, no, I'd rather you be positive and aggressive and take it to the team and have that. He's taken the fearlessness out of it. There isn't that anxiety. There's like, no, you've got to play positively and aggressively. That's what I want to see. And also off the field, he's like said, look, touring is about having fun. And it's not about training all the time. There's optional training sessions. Some guys don't even turn up for training because they go out and play golf. It helps them mentally relax and be fresh. And when they come into the test match, they're ready to go to play positive, aggressive cricket. So I think Brendan McCullum himself is very positive and ultra aggressive. He knows that it takes a lot of energy to be that type of cricketer. So you need to then switch off and relax. So when you're on the cricket field, you entertaining the fans. And certainly they are playing entertaining cricket. The English fans are loving it. The Barmy Army are loving it. Yeah. And I'm sure the ECB are absolutely loving this new round of cricket.
It's interesting you should say that because in the past, there was a worry that England players would suffer from burnout and, the stress of constantly being switched on. And England play more test matches than any other nation in the world. But I think it's so important, like you say, that they can have time away from cricket and then come back to the game and still be refreshed for it. But yeah, it's definitely encouraging stuff. Obviously, Ben Stokes played in the IPL at the weekend, didn't get many runs. Some of the Chennai Super Kings fans weren't too impressed. That won't bother him, will it? He'll just be straight back to business next weekend, I would have thought.
Absolutely. He's played impressive situation, but you know what they're like in the IPL teams. The fans are very loyal, and it's similar to how football is here. So they expect a lot from their, big guns or the guys who are on the multi-million-pound contracts. So yeah. I'm sure we'll see the best of Ben Stokes at some stage during this IPL, and let's hope it's very soon. Yeah, and I think they're playing today as well, so hopefully we'll see the best of Ben Stokes.
Okay, yeah, touch wood. Let's see. Hopefully, he gets on better. In terms of England, England's kind of dealing with spin bowling. In the past, there was the generation of struggle when batsmen were told to sweep and kept getting out LBW. Now we've got Ben Duckett. Looks like a top class player of spin. How much do you rate him in terms of dealing with top class spin bowling?
Yeah, he's brilliant. His development has been unbelievable. I played with him at Northants, and I said to him, "You're definitely, you're definitely going to play Test cricket at some point because you're just a brilliant batsman." Reminded me very much like a Marcus Trescothick's type of cricketer. But then he's like went to Notts. He really wanted to play at a Test venue, so if you get runs, he'll get noticed. So you can see his ambitions and how he's thinking. And I was so pleased for him that he took on the Pakistani bowlers, did the reverse sweeps, and I think he'll probably play the first Test match because he fits into that mold. He is quite a relaxed, laid-back, cricketer off the field, but on the field he's ultra aggressive. So he fits exactly the mold of this team, and I just think that Brendan McCullum is bringing the best out of him. So don't be surprised if you sort of 50 in the first hour of an Ashes Test match because he's just taken on the Australian fast bowlers. He's like that, he just hits the ball in unorthodox areas and very difficult to set the field to him. So yeah, he's a brilliant cricketer, and I really hope he has a unbelievable Ashes series this year.
I hope so as well. Taking it back a bit, back to when you were playing for England, your first Test wicket was that of the legend Sachin Tendulkar, I believe. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And
how did that feel for you on a personal level? That must have been
it was just unbelievable. I couldn't believe it that I got his wicket as my first Test wicket. I was super excited. I was just so happy. All the positivity was coming out. I mean, it was unbelievable. And he's just, one of the greats of the game. And you kind of you don't believe that. Have I really got him out? But, it's one of my favorite moments in Test cricket and favorite moments in my life. So I was just so excited and so happy about the whole moment.
Yeah, it must have felt pretty surreal, I would have thought. And where do you rank Sachin in terms of the greatest batsman ever to play the game? Is he top for you up there?
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of the best in the world, unbelievable. Even now, when you want to feel happy, you just watch him bat on a YouTube
Yeah,
video, and you just like, wow, you feel in a great mood.
yeah,
He's the best ever. He's like, there's no one going to be like him. He's the best ever.
one of a kind. Yeah, silky, wasn't he? And you obviously, your batting wasn't, should we say, your strong point, although you did put together a few very important innings for England. And you famously hit Muralitharan for 6 back in 2006. How did that feel as someone who you must have grown up kind of idolizing as a spinner, or watching as you progressed, and then you hit him for 6? Must have felt good.
Yeah, it felt great. Honestly, it came out of the screws and it went over deep mid wicket. I don't think he was too happy. He was giving me sort of kind of dirty looks, and then the next ball he bowled, I hit it before as well. So I was really enjoying myself, and I was loving it, absolutely loving it.
Yeah, and obviously some of the legendary spin bowlers, yourself included, we've had Shane Warne, rest in peace. Anil Kumble. There's been plenty throughout the years. Where would you have Muralitharan in your top 5?
Yeah, like he's definitely in the top 5. It's like I remember facing his first delivery. It was just a completely different shape of ball that a spinner would normally have, and it was just so many revs on it. So yeah, he is definitely like top 5 or the top 3 in my opinion. Like it was just privileged to be on the same field as him and face him. He was like, one of the best ever.
Yeah, is it one of those ones where you can hear the ball kind of spinning through the air? That's how many revolutions are on it. That I always found that so intimidating as a batsman. You hear the ball coming at you. It's mad.
It is, and it can be a distraction. But then sometimes you just panic. You hear it and you think, I don't know which way it's turning. I'm just going to sweep it.
Yeah.
And I remember Duncan Fletcher telling me that. He goes, if you don't know if it's a deuce or an off spinner, get down on one knee and sweep it, and you just that's the best way, because then you end up hitting the ball, and then. I managed to get one, hit the middle, and it went for 6.
Nice. Well, yeah, I guess you're just kind of like minimizing the sort of chances of it going wrong if you cover the ball, like get as close to it as you can. Yeah. In terms of obviously when England go and play test matches away from home, the Barmy Army travel in big numbers. This summer they're going to be just there mixed in with all the home fans. How much of a boost does that give you energy wise during a long day in the field? If you're struggling to pick up a wicket and you hear them singing, chanting, does it help your energy levels?
Absolutely. They're the most loyal fans I've had. And there was times at fine leg, I wouldn't get a wicket and they'll start singing the songs, and they'll sing the Jerusalem song and then the national anthem and everything like that. I'll just like, oh gosh, they're boosting my energy levels. And I go out and then go to bowl be a bit more sort of energetic, try and get another wicket. A few times, actually several times, I got so many wickets by the help of Barmy Army. So, absolutely love them. They are the best fans in the world, and they are so much fun to be around.
Do you remember the lead up to your first Ashes game when you were told you're going to be playing, and how that felt?
Yeah, I was kind of nervous. I remember it was at Perth, and we were already 2-0 down, and we were bowling first. And then when I came out to bowl, and the Barmy Army fans, every crowd was just, just singing, and there was so much noise. It was unbelievable feeling. And I remember getting Justin Langer out before lunch, and then I just went off celebrating, and I kind of just missed it, hit off stump, and I just couldn't believe it. First wicket just before lunch, and then I got a fifer on my first Ashes series. So absolutely delighted I was. And it was, it is intimidating playing in Australia, but you just got to hold your nerve. You got great characters in the team then, Kevin Peterson, Andrew Flintoff, and they were like brilliant. They were like standing up to the Australians, and it lifts your spirits as well. You don't have that time to think, bowling to some of the greats of the game. You just got to go out there and get them out, and that's it. So I remember getting Gilchrist out, second ball, hit the glove, and he walked actually, so that was good on him. But yeah, generally I just think that there was Matthew Hayden, I played a lot with him at Northants, and you kind of think he's a big intimidating figure, but you just, you see the likes of Freddie Peterson there, and you kind of think, no, I've got to stand up as well and take them on. So yeah, so pleased when I got 5 wickets of her first Ashes series.
Yeah, because they had a few left-handers, didn't they, back in those days, which probably you were quite happy about, because it's good for you bowling to lefties. In terms of people that are making their debut, I'm not sure if we're going to have too many debutants, but is there any advice you'd have for someone who's hoping to make their debut in the Ashes this summer?
Yeah, look, if there's any debutants this summer, you just got to go out there, enjoy the occasion, and that's it, and play with freedom. Don't worry about how many runs or wickets you're going to get. You've just got to, the more you enjoy it and in a positive mindset, you're going to end up doing well anyway. So don't worry about like, oh, my performances. Focus on like how much you're like loving it and the passion for the game, and you end up actually doing better than you think you do.
Yeah, wise words there. We spoke about some of the pace, the fastest bowlers, obviously Mark Woods, rapid. During your days as a batsman, was there a bowler that you particularly feared facing more than anyone else?
Yeah, look, I remember facing Brett Lee. He was quick. Shoaib Akhtar were quick. So they're probably the two quickest I faced. And yeah, you had to be about your wits. I remember one of the top order batsmen telling me, like, if you don't want to get hit, watch the ball. And I used to watch it closely and then sway out of it. And just a simple motivation. I didn't want to get hit by it, to be honest. That's what it was. Yeah. And he ended up watching it very closely. He ended up, batting like a batsman. And yeah, it's an experience facing fast bowling. 155 plus. It can be scary, and you just got to be absolutely focused.
Yeah, I can imagine the adrenaline pumping through your veins there when I'm whistling past your head. But yeah, good experiences nonetheless. Speaking about some of the other test playing nations, India won their recent test series against Australia, but lost the ODI series 2-1, including a 10-wicket defeat. How do you compare Rohit Sharma's captaincy to his predecessor, Virat Kohli?
Yeah, Virat Kohli is much more aggressive, in your face kind of captain, and he will intimidate the opposition, and also very intense with the celebrations. And he will let you know that that Virat Kohli is there. If you don't know he's there, you'll definitely hear from him when on the field.
Right.
Rohit Sharma is probably a bit more cooler, calmer, and he's kind of like the complete opposite to Virat Kohli. So he will just take things on his stride and aggressive when he needs to be, but you can see he's much more sort of a calmer head. He has a calmer head, while Virat Kohli is much more intense.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think India in general look like they're moving in the right direction. I'm not sure when England next play them, but obviously it's all about the Ashes for the time being. But speaking about something that's obviously a bit more serious rather than just cricket in general, the case of Yorkshire versus the ECB and some of the things that Michael Vaughan tweeted and said back in the day. He was cleared on the balance of probabilities of using racist language towards Asim Rafiq. Did the verdict surprise you, or is that kind of what you predicted?
Well, you kind of look back into it now, and you look at Yorkshire and all the players that were involved. You kind of just think to yourself, there weren't probably any winners. There weren't the winners out of any of this, scenario. And I think, going forward, we've seen a lot more diversity training from the PCA. They've really stepped that up. And it's such a delicate and complex subject that everyone needs to be I think everyone's got a bit more of a thorough understanding now. Like, for example, the P word, there was a debate, is that acceptable or not? And I think there's a lot of people now have a firm line that, there's certain words you cannot say because it's just, not the right thing to say. And, we've got new management with the ECB now, with Richard Thompson, Richard Gould as well. They're good people, and they'll definitely move it forward. And then some of the other great things that are happening with Boney Brentford, who's obviously doing the ACE program with Surrey. Then we've got the Leighton Hub program, Irfan Akram is doing with Essex. So we're seeing some positive stuff coming through the system, because there's a lot of cricketers out there from, let's say, the ethnic minorities, and I hope there are a lot more. You're seeing now a lot more cricketers coming through the system, and they're pushing them forward because they want to be encouraged. You want to encourage them, the talent, to come through and to play professional cricket. And I think it's a responsibility now for head coaches, CEOs, players, assistant coaches, all to get that sort of diversity training and get a firm understanding about all different cultures from different backgrounds. So so no one kind of feels like that they don't feel included. Like, everyone does feel included, and like England and the ECB and all the other organizations, they are doing a lot now to help with diversity training. So it's we just don't want a repeat of this situation. And I just think people are getting better at sort of getting educated in these areas.
Yeah, I think you're right. Hopefully now we can sort of look forward, progression, and leave that in the past where it is, and hopefully not repeat the mistakes. I had a question from a friend who's a big fan of yours. He wanted to ask you, if you were in charge of the ECB, how would you get more working class kids into cricket and move away from the perception that cricket is for upper class kids and a bit boring? What would you do to change that?
Yeah, look, I think in the urban areas, try and get more facilities invested so guys can play more cricket, and then they feel like, yeah, there's facilities there to play. And also, sometimes kit can be quite expensive. So then try and maybe create some funding where kit is accessible for the working class kids. So then they feel encouraged that, it's not too expensive, that we can play. There's good facilities around. We've got access to equipment. And then that encourages them then not to move away from cricket, but actually to get involved with cricket.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, isn't it? Because obviously with football, all you have to do is buy a football and you can kick it around in the street. Cricket is quite a lot more investment that has to, you have to personally put in if you want to play at sort of a Sunday league level. Plenty more. But speaking of a different sport now, football, you are a Luton Town and an Arsenal fan. That's correct, is it?
Yeah, we football fans have irrational behaviours. We have a local team and a Premiership team.
Yeah.
My local team's Luton, Premiership team's Arsenal. So hopefully this year we win the Premier League, and England, and sorry, not England, and Luton get promoted into the Premiership.
Yeah, well, Luton doing all right, aren't they? Hovering on the edge of the playoffs. Arsenal top of the league, smashing it. Who's impressed you most for Arsenal this season?
Oh, there's been obviously several players, but Saka's definitely for me. He's the guy. He's the guy who I've really been impressed with, and really enjoyed watching him play. And also Mikel Arteta's managerial skills. Recently, we've seen a few managerials who's been sacked, but he's taken Arsenal to the next level. But the way he's done it as well with astute signings, and I just think that Arsenal, surprising a lot of people out there. You would never thought Arsenal would be on the top of the table right now. But I'm been, hugely impressed. And also Ben White as well, really good defender. I think he's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, really, really been impressed by them. And also the Norwegian, midfielder.
Odegaard.
Odegaard, definitely good player.
Do you manage to get down to the Emirates at all?
Not yet, but I definitely need to go down there. Hopefully maybe I'm there when they lift the trophy.
Yeah, that would be great. Tickets are getting hard to come by at the moment. I think they're on the ticket exchange. I saw the other day one going for like 20,000 or something ridiculous. So, but I can't imagine you'd have too much problem getting a ticket if you want to get down there, Monty. But I don't know if you saw Newcastle against Man United yesterday. Obviously, a repeat of the Carabao Cup final. Newcastle managed to win this time though, which was nice to see for anyone who's not a Man United fan. You've spoken out in the past about Abramovich when he was owner of Chelsea and kind of some of the controversies around him. Now Newcastle are owned by the Saudi government. Do you feel like it's kind of history repeating itself in that respect? The Premier League not really taking charge of the ownership of these clubs?
Well, the thing is that I know sport washing is a term where people, buy invest in sport clubs, in big Premiership clubs, and to make their image look cleaner. But then you got to look at the positives. You look at how Newcastle have become a better side. The Newcastle fans are obviously enjoying it. There's the recruitment of more jobs when there's more investment coming in place. And I think that's where people are now seeing it as there is obviously certain issues that people kind of relate to with the money coming from the Middle East, but then I'm sure the governance of there will change as well with the pressures maybe that the Premiership can put and the government in this country to say, right, okay, there's certain rules you may need to sort of increase the wages of people who make the the working class or the people who come and do the labor work, building stadiums and also buildings in that part of the world, maybe increase a bit more, sort of give them better living standards, increase their wages. That's the kind of stuff I think then what puts the British government into power when more money is being invested in the Premier League from Saudi Arabia. And then, I'm sure they'll be thinking, okay, yeah, they understand that type of governance, they want that to happen, and I'm sure there'll be a sort of a middle ground somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's where we need to try and work towards, don't we? Like helping obviously people in other countries as much as the money invested helps the Premier League here. But,
I think England and the British government, they absolutely have the power to then change the policies of working conditions in other countries. And I think that's where they can use that advantage. They can say, right, if you want to come and invest in the Premier League for whatever reasons, to clean the image, to help the clubs, and you're going to invest heavily, then we also want to see changes in certain things as well. And I think that's why the British government is in a very powerful position.